And we're rolling the dice on our future. 3, 1, 2, 3. Up once again, this is Sense or Senseless. My turn. Okay, here's a question about energy. Right, in the resource-based economy, the aim is to stop burning these dirty fossil fuels and switch over to the clean, renewable, and free sources of energy such as solar, wind, hydro, geothermal. Okay, but you know what they say, that we have to keep burning the dirty stuff because the technology isn't quite there yet to supply our needs with the renewable sources? For $200, is a yes or no here. 5 seconds to think about it. Can we supply our needs at this point in time with the clean, renewable energy sources? And no. I'll say yes. And I'm right. I get rid of it anytime. What? Some of you are saying no. You say that we can't do that right now. Okay, but wait now. You remember that at the beginning of the question, it said in the resource economy. A little trick question there, because if you're thinking about our current monetary system, in that case, you're probably right. Yeah, in this system that turns us into these consumption machines and that waste so much of our energy playing the money games. In the resource economy, consumption for the sake of consumption, that would be senseless. This would be about using our resources intelligently and conservatively, and things would look a lot different. For instance, let's say if we've gotten rid of all the occupations that aren't relevant, like we've just done, then instead of the freeways looking like this, they now look like this. Yeah, imagine that. 2/3 of all this traffic on our freeways vanished. But people aren't driving to these jobs anymore. They're spending most of their time working around their homes and their communities. And okay, so how much have we saved right there? And think about all the energy we spend shipping things around the country and across the oceans, like food and other products people use. Right now, we're growing food on these huge mega farms, and we pack it onto trains and planes and into trucks and start those engines and burn that fuel. And now imagine that most of this is produced locally. Every city and every town have their own farms and community gardens, and where you can't grow it outside, we have greenhouses everywhere, big ones, because this is what we're doing now. We're putting our energies and our resources into growing things. And we grow food inside high-rises too, with hydroponics and other technologies that are available now. Yeah, instead of using up all this land horizontally, we can now grow vertically. We can convert the buildings that are already there, like the office high-rises that are vacant now because the investment bankers and stockbrokers have moved on with their lives.
Yeah, baby!
Yeah, different varieties of food on every floor. We use elevators now instead of tractors. Going up? Which floor? Okay, you're getting off on broccoli and tomatoes. All right, here you go. Hey, it sure beats Goldman and Sachs, doesn't it? So how much have we saved now by eliminating all this shipping? Yeah, we're getting there. We're definitely off the oil at this point. And how about our energy sources? Instead of that massive coal-burning plant moving electricity through hundreds of miles of high-tension wires strung out across 4 or 5 states, gone. Just like with the food production, it's all done locally. Every city and every town, every community have their own systems, whatever's most efficient for their climate, weather patterns, wind and solar, hydro resources, rivers and oceans with their wave and tidal potential. And we can do this right now when we've gotten rid of all this needless waste that we accept as natural and necessary for that monetary economic growth. Okay, here we go again. And you are rolling a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, this is a new category we call
Contrast and Compare.
Contrast and Compare. That's right, that's my good friend and spiritual advisor, Pastor Mustard, helping us out with the audio. Okay, let's see, this is Contrast and Compare. So, hey, there's been a flood. and your home was nearly washed away. So, what happens now? What do you have to do to rebuild and get back on your feet? First, in a monetary-based economy, then in the resource economy. Okay, 60 seconds for each one and $200 for each one. Flood, monetary system, and go. First, you have to find a temporary place to live and then get into the paperwork. Let's say you have flood insurance, or you'd really be up the creek. So your local agent comes by with his assessor and they write up a report and you fill out forms. And then you wait a few days, a few weeks until the home office can process it and analyze how to get the best deal for themselves. And in the meantime, you've got to find a contractor to do the repairs, which is a challenge because some builders have already come by and given their sales pitch, but there was no company name on their truck. Who knows? So you've got to investigate them, and you got to call other contractors who eventually drop by and give their estimates. And some of them want you to sign things like an authorization to contact your insurance company, but you better read the fine print and surprise. This means you'd be locked into working with them. Okay. You finally decide on a contractor who seems fair. You sign a contract, making sure there's a detailed summary of the work to be done and the materials to be used. $50,000, that was the initial appraisal, but now the insurance company only wants to pay $40,000. So you have to spend more time fighting it out with them. And, okay, I can't get through the whole thing. There's just too much to have to deal with. If I was to finish that, I would say, what? They only want to pay $40,000 and your local agent is on your side, but he can't help you here because the home office, they have to make that decision. Yeah, somebody else's responsibility. To be fair to the insurance companies, they have to investigate these claims and play the game because some people are trying to cheat them too. Yeah, that's our system. Can't trust anybody. So you compromise with the insurance company, $45,000. Fine, you just want your house back, and then finally work's underway, but you still got to be watching out for yourself, inspecting the work, and that's when you notice that some of the materials are poor quality, not what you agreed on in the contract. So you get that straightened out and on, and finally 6 months later, things are pretty much back to normal. That's what it would be like, man. I think in a resource-based economy, it might be a little easier. Let's see if I can get $200 for this one. Well, because you're living in the resource-based economy, every city and every town have their 3 main production facilities, right? Food and energy systems and housing materials, working away, mostly all automated. Machines doing the work, and these prefabricated, durable, fire-resistant modules are continually being produced. So the next day, all the components are on site, and if your house wasn't made with these new, virtually maintenance-free materials before, it is now. And because people have time these days to help someone who's in need, well, folks drop over for a day, maybe 2 or 3, and they help put it together, and a week later, things are pretty much back to normal, and you have a cookout. Thank you. Yeah, there you go. We could live like that, if we wanted to, if we were smart. Wouldn't that be nice? Live in a system that made sense. That actually makes sense. Yeah, when people first hear a little bit about the resource economy, they might say, well, that sounds kind of crazy. But when they take a good look at both systems, looking at the facts, and they start to think about it, they'll often say, oh yeah, our system we're in now, that's crazy. And this other one, that makes sense. To people who have an open mind, who can be objective. Objective as people can be. And there are other people who just shut down and just will not think about it. What can you do but just try to get people to look at it, to look at the facts and think about it? Okay, let's go on. Here we go.